And then the other thing we were talking about is where is this ventral or anterior spinal thalamic? And it is basically an anterior column. It's this one right here. So like we said, most of the ones are going to be, most of the sensory ones are going to be more in the posterior, but there are a few that are in the anterior column. And then there's just some stuff about proprioception. So if anybody else wasn't here when I was talking about it, so conscious proprioception has to do with you being able to sense what position your body's joints are in, whereas unconscious is all the stuff that goes on in the background that you don't think about. That in order for me to stand up straight, I have to have certain muscles that are going to posturally contract, and they have to have certain ones that are inhibited. And when I move, you know, if I flex my arm this way, I have to contract my biceps, but I also have to, you know, inhibit the triceps and a whole other things that go on without you thinking about it. All right, so then this Hoffman's reflex is where you're holding the third or fourth finger and tap the nail or flick the finger like that, and then you're looking again for flexion of the thumb like that, or adduction of the thumb. So it seems like all of these are you do some type of stimulus and you get a hyper-reflexive reaction. So these are pathological reflexes that shouldn't normally be present, but in the course of what I'm going to assume at this point is going to be a upper motor neuron lesion, the body's going to, these reactions are going to occur as a result of that. And then this last slide is probably, you know, again on this handout, it's going to be kind of hard to read that, but they're all, anything that's on this little picture here is all what's written out on these other ones, with the pictures going up on it. So that's basically the stuff that we're going to go over for today. A couple things. One is that what we talked about in the syllabus is that you're going to have two different projects that you're going to do. Is when we get into the second half of the class, they're going to be in groups of 2 or maybe 3 people where you're going to have a certain biomechanical related condition, like maybe tennis elbow or TMJ problem or some type of orthopedic condition. And then you're going to do, as a group, you'll investigate the thing, and then you're going to follow a certain format to present that type of case. You know, here's how it happens, here's what to do about it, here's the anatomy behind it, and physiology, things like that. So that'll be something that's going to occur pretty much in the second half of the class after we do the neuro part. So basically, first we're going to be doing neuro, then we're going to be doing ortho. Okay. Then another type of thing where you do like a case project where you'll have a little bit larger groups, like about 5 or 6 people, and then you'll have a few different topics that you'll have to you can discuss things in a group and try to figure out. Basically, it's just a way of learning the information as a group. Okay, so those are things that are going to go on in the future, just to give you a heads up on what's going to be covered. So what we'll do at this point is if anybody has any particular questions on the specific material we went over, we can do that. Or what I'll do is kind of just a quick review of the different things that we went over.
Bob, when you say lesion, you mean like a tumor or any kind of obstruction? Will you be bleeding there? Or
anything that's going to basically like cause death to that tissue in that area. Dysfunction. It could be somebody got stabbed and they cut half of their spinal cord, or they had some type of an aneurysm or bleeding that caused dysfunction of that area. Just think of it in terms of severing that, or maybe there's a tumor that's eating away at a certain part where it's putting pressure on a certain spinal tract or something like that. So then what we can do is just kind of go from the beginning and just sort of review different stuff. So basically we talked about the different tracks. Okay? So we divided it into, we're going to have dorsal tracts and lateral tracts and anterior or ventral tracts. And then what's this, predominantly this area back here? The posterior column. Okay, so that's going to be the conscious proprioception stuff. So that's going to be the fasciculus cuneatus and gracilis. Okay. So gracilis is going to be information from the lower part of the body. And then that's going to be more, that's going to be this area here. Like this, these two parts here is going to be gracilis, and that's going to be ascending from the lower part of the body. And then cuneatus is going to be the upper part of the body. And then that's going to be more this part right here. Okay, so does that cross, where does that cross at? Crosses at the MO. So it enters the spinal cord at the same level, it goes straight up from there, crosses at the MO, it goes into the thalamus, and then goes over to the other side. And then we talked about the lateral, let's go into it. So these, basically these blue ones are going to be the ascending tracts, and the red ones are going to be the descending tracts. And so then again, we have the spinal cord and the gray matter is kind of look shaped almost like a butterfly, right? We have the two dorsal parts here, and then ventral. Okay? Dorsal is going to be sensory, ventral is going to be motor for the most part. And so this gray matter is where the cell bodies are at, and that's where you're having the synapse. Okay? So any of these tracks that go up and down, those are basically like the insulated wires of the electrical system of your body. Okay? So any times where nerves are transitioning between a first or second or third order neuron, or upper motor neuron, lower motor neuron, those are the synapses that are always going to be in the gray matter. So white matter is going to be on the outside, and those are either information going up or information going down. And then sensory information is always going to be coming in through here through the dorsal horn and the dorsal root. Okay. And then this dorsal root ganglion is where they have the cell bodies for the neurons. It's not going to be a synapse. The synapses are always going to be here in the gray matter, or they're going to be in the thalamus. And then the ventral is going to be the motor. And then, like I said, the white matter is going to be the myelinated or the insulated wiring that's going up and down your spinal cord. Because when it's in the white matter, it's basically an impulse that's going either up or down. Right? When you have these synapses, what that's doing is it's spreading out the information to go to different pathways. Okay, motor pathways are going to be more simple. Okay, you have an impulse from the brain, it goes down to the muscle to make the muscle contract. But sensory stuff has to go to a lot of other different things. Sensory goes into the thalamus, and then from the thalamus it may have a couple other different branches that may go to different parts of the brain so that you can interpret things.